Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a podcast and videocast from univrm.com. Today is a current event news article titled Doublespeak, Hypocrisy and Propaganda, Chilling Facts, Part 1. The White House released a compelling argument against Iranian censorship of the internet. Unfortunately, the doublespeak hypocrisy of the letter, in addition to other current event news, makes us wonder what century we live in. The release from the White House welcomed, but like seemingly every other current event news story, nothing more than political rhetoric against a foe saying, do as I do as I say, and not as I do. This used to be called propaganda, but due to the constant nature and global ubiquity of doublespeak, relegated to normalcy. Here is a letter to the Iranian people released by the White House. Nowruz is a time when so many Iranian families and loved ones come together in a celebration. Moreover, it is a holiday that reminds us of the rich culture of the Iranian people and the extraordinary contributions that they have made to human history. Yet, even as holidays like this underscore the connections that we share as human beings, the government of Iran is going to great lengths to isolate the Iranian people by cutting them off from the outside world. For too long, the Iranian regime has tried to control the flow of information and ideas to and from the Iranian people and the outside world. As people everywhere are making their voices heard through new technologies and social media, the people of Iran often find their voices stifled and their ability to connect denied. Like the Iron Curtain of the 20th century, an electronic curtain is descending as the Iranian regime attempts to control what its citizens see and hear. The Iranian people have a universal right to access information and to freely assemble online. Yet the Iranian regime increasingly denies these rights and uses technology to suppress its people. Reporters Without Borders named Iran an internet enemy for 2011, and the Committee for the Protection of Journalists calls Iran one of the world's 10 online oppressors. Below are just some of the many ways Iran's government has earned these titles. Controlling the internet. As more citizens use the internet as a source for news and political debate, the government has responded by monitoring and filtering internet content. Iran routinely blocks access to Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and other social networking sites, blog platforms, photo or video exchange websites, and other sites related to politics and human rights. Recent reports indicate that Iran has blocked over 5 million websites, to include frequently accessed sites such as Gmail, Yahoo Mail, and Skype, stifling the ability for millions to interact with those inside and outside of Iran. Limiting access. Through a 2006 law, Iranians have limited access to broadband internet, and internet speeds are further slowed during times for heightened public discourse, to include elections, planned protests, or other major national events that might lead to public assembly. Suspending access to the internet. During the past year, the government has announced its intention to create a national intranet to better control and monitor the flow of information. To prevent Iranian citizens from accessing content outside the country, Iran took the draconian step of blocking the most common form of secure communications, SSL, used by millions of web services and businesses, preventing an estimated 30 million Iranians from using email or Skype to connect to the outside world. Creating a culture of fear. Through threatening tactics and harsh laws, Iran's government has created a culture of fear among internet users that causes them to self-censor or to avoid using the internet altogether. Recent examples include scare tactics. Regime elements have created a so-called cyber army of up to 15,000 internet enforcers. In August 2011, the Iranian cyber army created a fake email certificates authority, exposing the personal details of more than 400,000 email account holders. Non-governmental organizations report that authorities occasionally stopped arriving citizens at the Tehran International Airport and asking them to log into their YouTube and Facebook accounts, sometimes forcing them to delete information. Legal measures. The Cybercrime Act of 2009 allows the government to prosecute Iranians for crimes such as disseminating information likely to agitate the public and insulting the supreme leader. Laws are arbitrarily applied based on enforcers' interests. Spying in Internet cafes. According to reports, Internet cafes are required to record the personal information for each user as well as the date, time, IP address, and address of websites visited. Tracking and targeting. Reports also suggest that security services are becoming more adept at using citizens' own technology against them, tracking opposition figures for harassment and abuse. Iranians are increasingly concerned that using devices to connect to one another will expose themselves and their associates to retribution by the government. Persecuting foreign broadcasters. Iran engages in a systemic campaign to prevent news, entertainment, and opinions from reaching media that is not subject to Iranian government control. This includes jamming. Iran jams or interferes with foreign broadcasts from around the world, misusing satellite equipment to simultaneously block dozens of channels on international satellites. Recently, Iran helped Syria jam Al Jazeera's coverage of protests and the Syria regime's bloody crackdown. Ironically, Iran uses the same satellites and frequencies to broadcast its own news and ideology worldwide in more than 10 languages and on more than 25 channels. Outlawing of foreign information. The Iranian regime outlawed the ownership of satellite dishes, criminalizing owners of even these most basic information tools. Furthermore, Iranians simply trying to submit questions or send information to foreign broadcasters by SMS messages receive a menacing auto text back from the Iranian government threatening them with imprisonment. Intimidation. Most recently, Iran arrested and harassed the family member of a reporter associated with the BBC's Persian service and has continued to harass other Iranians supposedly linked to BBC. However, authorities also harass and threaten advisors on satellite channels broadcasting into Iran, and they routinely imprison journalists, bloggers, and free speech advocates. Saeed Malakpour, a web programmer, along with at least 2 other Iranian netizens, currently sits on death row on trumped-up charges. Steps to counter the electronic curtain. President Obama remains committed to engagement with the people of Iran that is rooted in mutual respect. As he said in his video message, Americans are deeply grateful for the contributions of so many Iranian Americans to our own country, and we have benefited greatly from our interactions with Iranian culture. Recently, this administration took an important step in reaching out to the Iranian people, despite the objections of the Iranian government, by launching an online virtual embassy, which brings Iranians information they cannot access from their own government-controlled media, ranging from world news to facts on U.S. policy and culture. Today we are taking another step by making it easier for Iranian citizens to get the software and services they need to connect with the rest of the world through modern communication methods. The U.S. Office of Foreign Asset Control, OFAC, today issued guidelines that will facilitate the availability of software and services that Iranians have told us are essential in order to effectively use the Internet. This builds on a step taken 2 years ago to authorize exports from the United States or by U.S. persons to persons in Iran of services and software related to the exchange of personal communications over the Internet, including web browsing, blogging, email, instant messaging, and chat, social networking, and photo movie sharing. The guidance issued today clarifies that certain categories of service and software, including personal storage, data storage, browsers, updates, plugins, document readers, free mobile apps, RSS readers, and aggregators, are currently covered by the previous OFAC authorization, and new guidance has been issued to encourage applications from companies that provide software and services that would enhance Iranians' access to and safety on the Internet. We encourage American companies to make their software and communication tools available to the people of Iran to help bring greater access to the world's knowledge and information, and to empower Iranians with the tools to make their voices heard. As President Obama said in his video message, the United States will continue to draw attention to the electronic curtain that is cutting the Iranian people off from the world. We encourage all who support the universal rights of the Iranian people to join us. The chilling and most callous portions of the letter accuse the Iranians of doing exactly what Western governments currently engaged in against their own citizen, but facts not necessary for doublespeak propaganda. From the ACLU. The government has just officially confirmed what we've long suspected. There are secret Justice Department opinions about the Patriot Act's Section 215, which allows the government to get secret orders from a special surveillance court, the FISA court, requiring internet service providers and other companies to turn over any tangible things. Just exactly what the governments think that phrase means remains to be seen, but there are indications that their take on it is very broad. Last night, we received the first batch of documents from the government in response to our Freedom of Information Act request for any files on its legal interpretation of Section 215. The release coincided with the latest in a string of strong warnings from two senators about how the government was secretly interpreting the law. According to them both, the interpretation would shock not just ordinary Americans, but even their fellow lawmakers not on the intelligence committees. Although we're still reviewing the documents, we're not holding our breath for any meaningful explanation from the government about its secret take on the Patriot Act. We do know now that there are two memos from the Office of Legal Counsel, the same Justice Department group that issued the torture memos, relating to Section 215. But as has become routine practice of the Justice Department, the OLC is keeping those memos entirely secret. This secrecy is overbroad and unnecessary. Americans have a right to know how their government is interpreting public laws, especially when those laws give the government sweeping authority to collect more and more of our personal and private information. This is the end. This is end of part 1-4 of these articles. Copyright 2012, univrm.com, trademarked, all rights reserved. At univrm.com, we create original content with humor and satire on current event news, opinion articles, economy articles, science current events, and our science fiction book series titled Change Hope. As an advertisement, there is a donations accepted button on our website, www.univrm.com, and donations welcomed to keep us publishing in difficult economic times. As a second advertisement, please remember univrm.com offering our science fiction book series Change Hope, released as a series on a chapter and book-by-book bases like the old Amazing Stories magazine. Change Hope available in all ebook formats and as an audiobook. You can purchase by going to www.univrm.com/downloads/. You can listen to this article via podcast, the iTunes Store, by subscribing to univrm.com, or read it on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at the UNIVRM channel. This has been a podcast and videocast brought to you by univrm.com, and we hope to bring you more in future.